very blessed afternoon to our members of the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association, our larger teaching body, and to all stakeholders in education. We present to you our 85th annual celebration of our Tobago Teachers Get Together, where this year we focus on the theme, Elevating Excellence, Dynamic Tools for Tackling Student Behavior and Mental Health while Enhancing Professional Resilience. Now, Teachers Get Together, it's a series of activities that we look forward to each year. We usually start off with the church service at our icon, and you will see in the background our icon, Mr. Aaron Reed, who most of you would recall for his role in Teachers Got Talent in the years gone by, but we will get more into that as we go on into the program. We visited St. Patrick's Anglican Church last week Sunday as we worshipped and had fellowship with him and the members of the church. We now engage you all in our discussions on Teachers Get Together. And the 19th, we will be having our awards function where we will be honoring our retirees, showing that appreciation for their service and so forth. And on the 20th, it would be a holiday. It's the first time we are having our development day on a holiday. Reason being, we have national test earmarked to be the Wednesday coming, and we do not want to cut short the week to only one day by having it on a Tuesday, on the Tuesday coming. So we are for the first time having it virtually. Virtually may not be ideal, but we're having it virtually this year on the 20th. So we look forward to persons participating in that. And just to remember the theme, Elevating Excellence, Dynamic Tools for Tackling Student Behavior and Mental Health while Enhancing Professional Resilience. So with me today, we have Mr. Dion Rodriguez, the chairman of the Tobago District, current teacher at Signal Hill Secondary School. We have Mrs. Henry Waldron, principal of St. Andrew's Anglican and long-serving member of the Tobago District. While not on the district executive now, always lend her support, give guidance to the teachers and so on regarding the regulations and so on. She's well learned as one of the stalwarts in tutor. We also have Mr. Ruel George, who is currently our district field officer and teacher at the Goodwood Secondary School. As we did last year, we looked at 2015, beyond 2015 coming forward, as to the packages we would have prepared for our teachers and stakeholders to participate in. We looked at the icon, how fitting those icons would have been, the theme, the significance of the theme, what goes behind the presentation, the preparation for such a weekend where a number of our Trinidad counterparts will come over to participate in. We are now today going to examine the impact of our package, the teachers, how impactful are our programs to our teachers and our stakeholders, because it's not for us to have events for event's sake or to tick a box so that persons will say, we got the event off this year and we can go to the next one. Everything we do in tutor serves a purpose. So this year we're going to be discussing the impact on teachers. I'm trusting that those who are on, check with your colleagues to make sure that they have joined the live and we are tuned in to participate in the discussions or to hear, some of the feelings and the thoughts behind the purpose of us having our get together and the different activities involved in it. So as I allow the panelists to say a little more about themselves and to also address their initial feeling when they started attending get together and how impactful it would have been to them with the various activities. So we usually have the dinner and dance, we have the development day, the awards functions. How impactful would they have been when you initially came on board the Tobago Teachers Get Together? Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roberts. Well, I would have started the teaching profession in 1997 as a supply teacher And I would have spent 12 years at the primary school before moving to the secondary school, which I now teach at Signal Hill Secondary School. In addition to that, I would have taught at the University of Trinidad and Tobago, where I would have lectured a number of in-service teachers presently teaching and learning mathematics in the primary school. Now, my initial experience with Tobago Teachers Get Together, it was an opportunity for me to see my colleagues. Because initially when I started, I went to Teachers Training College, Valsain Teachers Training College, and there you would have met a number of individuals who were training with you at that time. But after that 2 years period would have elapsed, you have gone to your various schools. So I would have always looked forward to Tobago Teachers Get Together for the initial purpose of meeting with my colleagues, having the opportunity to line with them, to chat with them. And sometimes even after the function, we will sit down and discuss what is happening at your school, what is happening at my school, that kind of thing. So it was that opportunity, that was one of the main opportunities for me to meet with those individuals. But more than that, it also gave us the opportunity as teachers where we sat in a space, and I speak about the professional development, where we sat in a space and we were given the opportunity to share, and we are given the opportunity to ask questions when the presenter presented. So it was also a learning experience for me at that point in time. And I got the opportunity because I'm always a person that like to ask questions. So I could recall on many occasions I was given the opportunity to ask questions and receive that necessary feedback. So it was twofold. It was a learning experience, but it was also an opportunity for us to socialize as teachers, to build, to catch up with, as persons would say, catch up with your colleagues and see how things are going with them as well in their different species.
And even as you mentioned, that opportunity to meet your colleagues and so on, it is said no matter where teachers meet, they talk about their classrooms, especially when they meet your fellow colleagues and so on. It could be an event, it could be a social event, it could be the beach. It doesn't matter where teachers meet. That is such the passion that teachers have for their classroom. There's always some child or some content or something you need to share with your colleagues and so on.
Correct.
And coming to the activities that we have is a perfect opportunity because you're sharing with persons who have similar experiences and so on, that could be able to give you some advice and so on that will help you with your particular initiative. And I'm sure Miss Henry Wajan would add further.
Pleasant good afternoon to the members on the viewing and listening public. I am very, very grateful for Tutor and the Tobago Teachers Get Together. It would have impacted my life positively. I remember as a young teacher in the year 1995 at the Delaford Anglican School, one of the things that you had to do was to become a member of Tutor. The principal will tell you there are two things that you must do. That was in Spur Wilson Beach. She would say, you have to join Tutor and you have to join Teachers Credit Union. So at a very tender age in my teaching profession, I joined those two associations. And never one day in my life have I regretted being a part or being an entity of those institutions. But what I can say is that I look forward to Tobago Teachers Get Together at a very young age. And what I admire is the dress code. The individuals that participated in this event had to look their best. So one thing you had to always do was to ensure that you had, as the old people would say, a proper frock, proper dressing to ensure that you could dust your foot and get into the dance. And with that, you know, you had a lot of collegiality in Tutor. Collegiality and camaraderie where your colleagues looked out for you and the discussions that you had would be salient. And it would also leave you with a nostalgic memory of what you would have missed anytime you did not attend. So if you didn't attend a year, the amount of stories that came out, you had to ensure you made up the following year for your absence in the last year. So I can tell you, I got in an accident taking children on a field trip, and the things that I would have heard, you know, even though you had to use a walking stick, you had to make sure that you are there, right? And it is very iconic that I am here because I always like to tell people, if you want to learn about regulations and discussions and so forth, Tutor is the place to be.
And I would always remember Miss Majimore Carrington calling me a baby in Tutor. So I would always hear about the ball back then, and you know, that professional way. We want to look your best as we appreciate each other in these particular activities. And if it's one thing, we don't wait for other people to appreciate us. We appreciate ourselves.
Correct.
So we make sure and put that value when we come out there. You must step out and look like a professional, look like a teacher. And it is something that a lot of persons are talking about now. You know, they're not seeing it being maintained throughout. So there are some teachers who are carrying the flag really well, but there is still that concern with that the teacher look. And if it's one thing teachers back then were prideful of, is that professional, that standard look, and I appreciate that. So as you will see, the tutor functionaries, we also try our very best, as you see the decking this afternoon. We are all in our professional way, in a tie and so on. So we want to make sure and carry that flag, and to see that teachers look forward to being there and being well dressed and being in that aura where persons are of that similar thought in mind, that we want to look our best, we want to be our best, and that was the excitement around get together time. And fellow baby in tutor, Mr. George, tell us.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the viewers. Good afternoon to the panel. My name is Ruel George. I would have been teaching for 20 years. So from the year 2006, as I started to teach at Goodwood Secondary School, that is when I would have joined tutor. I see tutor and get together as phases for me, in the sense that in one breath, in starting off as a teacher and seeing and being a part of the get-together activities, the socials, as well as the professional development activity, that I saw it as an opportunity to catch up with friends who are teaching in spaces like Roxborough Secondary, seeing primary school teachers that I haven't seen in quite some time, you know, on that level. Principals, some at the time when I now began to be a teacher, I saw some of my old secondary school teachers being a part of that activity as well. And so fast forward to the year 2015, when it is that the first time I became a staff rep at the school, I started to be involved in the activity in a way that I would say that it's not the same as someone from the outside, in the sense that I saw me being a staff rep, me going on to be a zonal convener and so on, and being a part of organizing committees to have certain events taking off, that it took a level of leadership, a level of, you know, that kind of work ethic that is needed to have things looking excellent. And I welcome that opportunity. I continue to embrace the opportunities. I also see it as networking, not only just for persons within the Tobago space, but you're having an opportunity to liaise with chairmen, national officers, you know, all alike, and, you know, having really a 360 view of the education system in Trinidad and Tobago. And as Mr. Rodriguez would have mentioned, what would have really caught my eye is when you have the opportunity to ask persons like the SS3, you know, the various school supervisors, as well as the administrator, on certain aspects that affect teachers, and seeing how it is that it would be addressed. That all of these, for me, is the how meaningful it is and continue to be, these activities, the professional development, the social, the dinner and dance, appreciating persons who have transitioned into another journey of their life, which is retirement. You know, all of these are full circle for me, and really something that I embrace and continue to.
And I like that you mentioned when you became staff rep and you see that urgency to be more involved in it. Now, a lot of persons, when they are looking on the outside, they will see it as just an activity or teachers that having events and so on. But when you are involved, and to those persons who may even question, what tutor doing for me? Get involved. There are so many things that tutor encourages. We have the professional advancement. There are so many activities. And even as we were chatting before, even the football, the netball, we recently had netball, and I will congratulate the Tobago district for coming second. We made it to the finals, and unfortunately, the other team had more technical ability than us. But we will be there coming again for that trophy. But when you are involved in the activities, it's a different meaning. than when you have a standoffish approach to it. And get together is something I would not miss. I would not feel good missing a get together. And we will go further into the development day and how significant it is. However, before we get to that, get together would have transitioned, especially with the pandemic, and we now having virtual aspects of it. We know in the initial they had the gala and so on that person would have attended. We don't have that in a big way now. What we have is a dinner and dance. And I know, Miss Henry Waldron, you mentioned that get together was really to address some of the issues as well that currently facing. So you will notice that our team for our get together will kind of center around some of the challenges faced currently. Could you just elaborate further on some of that planning, because you would have played a significant role in planning get together for several years, where we looking at the issues that we are faced with, the division, addressing them, not addressing them, stakeholder support, the planning behind addressing some of those current issues.
Well, first, I want to commend you on your team, Elevating Excellence. I believe to elevate excellence, there are certain tenets that should be present. And if we go back to last year's team, where we're trying to create that equilibrium, first question is, has the equilibrium been created? And the second question is, without that equilibrium, are we able to elevate the excellence in such a way that we create that resilience? There are several issues surrounding our schools and the inability of us to create safe spaces. One that we would see all the time is the pervasiveness of students in discipline that impacts us negatively. And I know for a fact that we have been treating the symptoms and not really going to the root cause. Another challenge that we would have, or we're having, is to get basic supplies, needs being met for schools as it pertains to the school's needs, the principal, teachers, and the students' needs. And that would impact negatively on us elevating to that excellence. Then you have teachers who for some way or the other feels that they're being discriminated against. For instance, I am finished with university or college in 2001, and I'm still getting an ATP salary, while my colleague who finished the same time as me receiving their T1. So there are several things, contracted teachers issue, there are several things that would negate us elevating to that excellence. And the Tobago teachers get together would have been that forum where persons are able to express their displeasure in some of the activities or the challenges that they are facing. It would also be that forum where we would get some resolutions and some recommendations. And it will be at that forum as well where the union would be mandated to solicit and seek the interests of their membership. Right? So you're kind of getting a all-in-one at that event, especially the professional development day. And as you would have said previously, teachers don't stop talking about teaching. Yeah. So I tell people that I have been in school all my life, from 3 to present. I've never left. And I have seen the transformation that I've been taking, the drastic transformation. Some I am able to build resilience again, and some I just don't have the tools to build that resilience if I'm not handed the resources that I need to make that impact. So Tobago Teachers Get Together is that forum that allows you to discuss the genuine challenges and come up with solutions that would help you to try to alleviate, but not all the time you're able to, because sometimes the ball is not in your court, right? You might just be the person taking out the mandates, but when coming to giving you the resources and tools needed to do that mandate in a successful way, it becomes very challenging when you're not fortified with the correct tools and resources.
And I like how you took us full circle. There are issues. We can't just stick by issues. As teachers who are responsible for our future, yes, the tools are not there in many occasions. Teachers spend of their own funding and so on to uphold the system. Teacher morale is a very important thing. So as a responsible union, we cannot leave our teachers to be demotivated, to be frustrated. So yes, our Get Together Development Day really targets those things. And you would have mentioned the opportunity to share some of your concerns, to vent a bit, and also to get resolutions and solutions and so on. That's why we have Mr. Johansi Ayodike, who will be the feature speaker at this year's Development Day, where we're going to look at not the tools per se to come from the division, but as teachers managing the shortcomings, we cannot leave ourselves to drown. What can we do? How could we enrich ourselves? What kind of tools would we need to engage to tackle student behavior? Because it's a very serious topic. You are seeing teachers with broomstick and mopstick defending themselves and defending other students and so on. That could never be a place of learning where you're looking for things to defend yourself with and so forth. And you look at the mental health aspect of it. So we are looking to enhance the professional resilience, getting the tools for being a part of the development day. So we do not just pick random topics, as was highlighted. We go through the current issues. What teachers need to make it true. And I would say, when you leave Get Together Development Day, you're ready for the classroom, you know. And I think we may need to change the time frame in which we have our Development Day, because school is usually closed at 2 or 3 weeks after that, and then we have a vacation period. So it would really be nice to go back to the classroom for a longer period, getting all the knowledge and the explanations to move forward with. But I know teachers having the conversations, it will keep on, and the preparation for July, August will have a very good start come September, once we put the discussions into practice and we prepare for that during the July, August vacation. At this time, we will take a quick break while we look at some of the activities to come. So as we indicated, we will be focusing on the impact of our Get Together package. We would want to ensure that our package is meeting a desired purpose. And I like that Mr. George referenced even that 2015 period, getting more involved in the Get Together. We would start at with some of those years. Back in 2016, when we honored Miss Umilta Roberts Henry as our icon, we had the team maneuvering the new educational landscape in Trinidad and Tobago: rethink, recharge, reposition. Now, I'm not certain that that team is a fully old team, because we still seem to be in a new landscape, especially with the technology that we have not gotten a full grip of. But the discussions on themes like this, Mr. George, you could indicate to us, after going through the topics, having the conversations, what kind of impact it has on you on the day, immediately after the day, and even going beyond. And the reason why I broke it up into those phases is that sometimes you leave the development day all energized, and as you go back to your classroom and reality hits, it's really tough to really put into to practice what was just discussed, all the things that you just agreed to and right, I'm ready to go. And the first day might be a school fight, maybe some child didn't do the homework or something, and it just gets you back to that place of, I don't know what to do again. So the impacts of those themes, like the new educational landscape that we probably still new in, because I don't see that we'd have transitioned, that we have moved forward in many of the areas. The immediate impacts in the development day, Mr. George.
Okay, what I would say firstly is that we should never disregard the power of community. And community in this case is the community of teachers, where we're able to feed off of each other's energies and, getting that encouragement to keep on keeping on. Because as was mentioned previously, we do have challenges as teachers, both on our end as teachers, as well as with respect to the students. And for me, I can definitely say sometimes, being in the teaching system, being in teaching for so long, that sometimes you are discouraged based on certain things you're seeing both at your school as well as, elsewhere. And we have to remember why we are here. Teaching is a vocation. It's more than just a career. That it's something that you really have to be vested in, because we are shaping the minds of the future. And so for me, in terms of the impact that the professional development day have for me, is two things. Where I am seeking my interest as a teacher, where the union get themselves involved and asking the questions and addressing the concerns with that conversation that the union as well as education has, as well as the part where the feature speaker comes into play and giving the suggestions and actually getting the audience involved, to where there's a bouncing off of ideas and sharing and so on. And I believe all, that helps to build resilience, build a level of confidence and just a repurposing of self when it is that you get back into the classroom. So for me, as I said, going forward, like after the day, you feel encouraged, you speak with teachers and there's more deliberation on the issues that was spoken about during the get-together, during all the activities and even further. And, we must take note of the time, as you said, where coincidentally it's close to when tests and so on take place. But what happens in September? We have other activities that also help to pick up the rear with respect to that. So I would say that these things are necessary, just as how it's mandated in some spaces to have professional development in your school space. That's on a wider level, that is also important to keep on, having those tools to equip yourself properly in the classroom and further. And
I like that you mentioned the repurposing, because they say what you focus on takes over your mood and your mindset and so on. So if you focus on the challenges only in the classroom or the challenges with resources, and you only see challenges, I do not see where you'll be an effective teacher. So you need to also get into that space where you get an eye-opener. Because I will be there in the workshop and your persons are clapping, your person shaking their head, some even will shout out the amen and so on, where they're so into the topic. And even with the division team, they will come and they would support, they will give their commitments and so on. Sometimes they're not readily met, but we have that working relationship. We must ensure to focus on some of those positive attributes, some of those positive attributes as we look towards keeping the morale of teachers up. And Mr. Rodriguez, I know in 2017, we looked at Mr. Noel Sosa, and he was my principal. Persons who would have gone to Scarborough Sec, so the Scarborough Sec alumni, they don't pass him straight anywhere. I don't know how he remembers everybody's name, but he speaks to everybody like he remembers them as of yesterday. We looked in that year, 2017, to your calling be true. And as was mentioned, teaching is not a job. If you come into teaching for a salary or for the perceived vacation, because you have a lot of planning that we do, there are workshops that we go to as well. If you are not true to that calling where you want the children to be their best, teaching will be very challenging for you. So in terms of getting to your calling, tapping into every avenue where you can gain some positive income in terms of the knowledge, the emotional training, the financial training, because you also looked at financial investments and so on in the previous years. Tell us, Mr. Rodriguez, to your calling, that 2017 team, how do you see the development day assist in teachers adhering to that calling?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. And it's a big statement, to your calling be true. So it speaks to the fact that teaching is not a profession, but a vocation. Now, the difference between a vocation and a profession is that when you get frustrated in a profession, you are ready to leave. But when you're in a vocation, there's a sense of fulfillment. And it is not hinged upon what you receive from it, but what you give out. And the changes and transformation that you see in the lives of your children from year to year. And the fact that you know within yourselves that you had the opportunity to make that level of transformation in the lives of the children. So the question always arises in the education space, whether, as the Bible would say, many are called but few are chosen. In the instance is whether they come to the teaching profession just for a salary, or whether they really see it as a vocation. But what does seeing it as a vocation does, it gives you the opportunity and it gives you the mettle, it gives you the resistance to rise above the challenges. Despite of the fact as it's present today, there are many challenges that teachers face, but it's that inner strength and it's that inner ability and that inner desire that gives us the drive to continue, to persevere, despite of the challenges that you're going to get up every morning, you're going to put on your clothes, and you're going to go to that school where there are students that are not performing, there are students that are disruptive, and you're going to be seeking answers, you're going to be doing research, you're going to be reading articles and so on, because deep within you, as I being a teacher presently for 33 boys, and as I tell them every day, my main desire is to see you do well. And when we speak about a vocation and to your calling be true, that is the essence of it. Every teacher wants those charges that are in front of them on a daily basis. Every principal that is responsible for a particular school, they want to see those students excel. They want to see those students do well. And just as your personal child, despite of challenges, you will never hear a parent giving up on his son, giving up on her son. Despite of what they are doing, it's similar to that as a teacher. Despite of the challenges that you face, you always want to go that extra mile. You always want to give them another opportunity to see if things are going to change. And as teachers, that is the direction that we have to go. We can't give up. We have to continue. We have to try. We have to continue to do the research and see what we can do in this space to make those changes. So that was a very powerful theme there, to your calling be true. And we as teachers, I want us to ponder, even though it has gone, let us continue to ponder on that. If teaching is a vocation, then we have to make that extra effort to see the transformation in the lives of the children that we are charged with.
Passion, Rodriguez. Passion, that's all I've seen and hearing. Passion. And sometimes the passion could get into the way, because you want to do so much. So the principal wants so much and the resources not there. The teachers want to do so much and they feeling like if they know they're not getting that support as they ought to. But we have to be each other's support. We need to be, I believe it was Miss Henry Wadron that spoke about the community or Mr. George spoke
Mr.
about the
George.
community of teachers. You know, we must have that space where we are encouraging and supporting each other. And sometimes it works in the opposite, where there may be that rigid interaction with principal and teacher. You know, we all want the same thing. And same like with tutor and the division. Sometimes we seem as if we are fighting, but it's not the case at all. We all want the best for our children. And sometimes we need to be able to have pointers to identify when we are slipping ourselves. So I know you would have seen a transition, Ms. Waldron, from what Get Together would have been, because we are babies here, what Get Together would have been, and where it is now. And what do you think we need to do to have an even greater impact with our teachers, where the whole Get Together preparation is concerned, and the follow-up activities coming from Get Together?
So when I entered the teaching profession, I would always say, you understood what you were getting into. In order to get buy-in, you have to understood where you came from, where you're at, and where you're going. And in my teaching profession, Get Together was marketed by the principals. So the principals will tell you about these different activities that are coming up, and they wouldn't say, would you like to go? They're telling you, you have to go. Right? And then when I got into tutor, there's a team of individuals. It was Marjorie Moore, Claudette Governor, Annette Henry. We inherited from Miss Roslyn and the day that we were doing it before, where we went around to schools and we marketed Get Together. And I am not seeing that in what is happening today. So you go to every school, and sometimes you go to the principal's office and the principal would say, go and talk to the teachers then. So you have the opportunity to have that conversation, that discussion with the teachers, informing them of what Get Together is, what it was, and why it is important. Because we don't want, when Get Together gets after my time and I leave and I retire, that there is no Get Together. It's a legacy of the Tobago teachers, and that legacy has to be carried on. There was a time that we had handing the baton as one of our teams, right? And we need to hand the baton safely off to our young teachers. We need them to participate. We need them to come into tutor. We need them to bind. There was a time as well, the staff representatives, they would carry the Tobago teachers Get Together, because there was always some training, and they understood their value as the liaison between the institution, the school, and the division, and they took it seriously. So you got everyone in your learning community, your school, to participate in the Get Together. We're not seeing that. When you go to Get Together, you're seeing persons who have been there for years, but where's the fresh blood? Because my mother would always say, if you go to a church and there isn't any young person, the church dying. So if we go to Get Together and we don't bring in young people, then the Get Together would eventually die. So we have to take what we're doing with some adaptation of what the young people would want and marry it and keep our Get Together, because this is a great legacy. I look forward to Get Together, and I know there are many like me who look forward to the Get Together. And we're talking about Professional Development Day. Even though we know that it's the Teachers International, World International Teacher Day has a theme, we could still filter in as a part of remembrance from what just happened in the Corpus Christi in that October, where we're going to remind them of that Get Together, so that they can marry that World Teachers Day with the Tobago Teachers Get Together and bring it together.
Noted suggestions. And you are highlighting the together part of the Teachers Get Together. And I could recall teaching as Cameron Methodist and seeing the team as well coming by my classroom, so they're not waiting by the staff room or by the gate or at lunchtime for you to come down to meet in any group in there. You all were going to the teachers. And my concern is that we have become so busy and we have our problems and we pull away because we have our own problems, but it's in the coming together that we will get the solutions and the support to overcome our problems. So, yes, having the district support and district moving out in that grouping where staff reps are also educated to that point where we want to play a key role in ensuring all our teachers are tapping in to what this package really offers. And even with our staff reps, I believe the whole notion of staff reps we need to have a firmer grip of. We are seeing where we believe staff reps or tutor is supposed to challenge principals or challenge person in leadership, but it's much, much more than that. That's on the lower part of it. We are about development and the programs, yes.
And might I interject? When you joined tutor, it was never what tutor could do for you, but what you could do for your tutor. Because there's a part of the anthem that says, to your tutor, be true.
Yes, correct.
So it's very insightful. The words were chosen so that we could play an active role in building not only the moral of our teachers, but the moral of our professional association.
And you know, that's a good thing to segue into. We need to really have a review of the image of tutor, the image of get-together, and how does tutor and our get-together affect the image of the education system. But you will take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will get into that.
It's starting to get hot.
So we continue where we left off, where we were looking at the image, as we were looking at the impact of our get-together. And it's not just to have program, but the impact, serving that purpose. And we have been, through negotiations, representing our members, engaging our various stakeholders. And it's very important to maintain that fortitude, that strength that tutor would have built over the years. And we must continue to reflect on that image of tutor and our members upholding that image. Our staff reps, our principals, we have the Principals Association, to which you are the president of TOPSPA.
Correct.
So we have that versatility in being on the Principals Association as well as being with tutor. The level of our national officers as well. And how do we have that communication going? So it's always important to have that image reflected upon, and get together is an opportunity for all those persons to come to that space where we discuss things regarding the union, the recent activities. You will get the president's message, which will highlight some of the issues. So we also look forward to the president's message. We will be getting that on the 19th for our awards function. So in terms of get together, so it's two part in this instance. The image of tutor and the image of get together and how they can work together in further enhancing and being solidified. So, Mr. Rodriguez, I think we can start with you as chairman of the district.
Sure, no problem. All right. So the image of tutor. If we reflect in the past, we would realize, and as I shared with someone, I joined when I came into tutor and being a teacher. It was a time, a period where tutor was well respected. Tutor had that level of strength. It was respected. When you heard the word tutor, you know that this was an organization of business. And over the years, yes, we will be seeing tutor, but I think that the tutor of yesterday and the tutor of today is not the same. And that might be one of the contributing factors to why we are not seeing that level of involvement in the Tobago teachers get together. Because sometimes things happen based on perception. And a lot of teachers' perception, not understanding the historical context of tutor and not understanding the true purpose, because I think one of the key factors, even as the chairman and in going forward, that we have to do as an association is to educate our members as to the importance, educate them on the history, where we come from, educate them on the importance, and give them maybe a preview as to where we want to go. We must have that situation of buy-in to the association. I think what is lacking right now is our ability to really buy into the association. And just to tie it into Tobago Teachers Get Together, if we look at the same historical context, we are going to see that in years past, that conference aspect of Tobago's Teachers Get Together led to the formation of policies. When you talk about the code of conduct of teachers, when you talk about the roles and responsibilities of teachers, those are things that were birthed in a Tobago Teachers Get Together conference meet. And those things are now documented and things by which we adhere by as teachers today. And it's the same vein in the present context that we must move forward in. But in order to move forward in that context, we really need our teachers to get on board. As Ms. Henry would have said, we need our teachers to be part of this movement called Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And in doing so, once we enhance the image of tutor, I think a direct consequence of that would be an improvement, would be a greater desire, would be a greater move to persons filtering in, and we've seen that development, because I think it's just a subset. The Tobago Teachers Get Together is a subset of the association in itself. So we need that development and we need that further strengthening of the association, which is going to assist with the Tobago Teachers Get Together.
Well, Mr. Rodriguez, you're only looking so your experience, man. the code of conduct and all those things birthed out of some of those discussions that get together and so on. Well, Mr. Rodriguez, I'm giving you the respects to that. You're up there. In terms of the development day and the wider association, it's very important that all our stakeholders and all our members understand that the union is not 6 officers, it's not that Tobago officer and the other 6 national officers, it is all of us. And if we are to review our image, we have to review ourselves, and we also need to come out to the activities where we will have the pointed conversations. It hurts me sometimes now that teachers will call me to ask where the incremental point of the salary scale should be. You know, those are some basic information that, you know, teachers should have. And a number of our teachers may not be as fully aware of the regulations, the job description, and so on. So as teachers, especially those who didn't have a full understanding of teaching before they came in, as teachers, we need to stay together. We need to come to the tutor activities because they are well catered for, so that we can have persons channeled in a way where they are always revitalized and have that energy to go forward. A demotivated teacher or frustrated teacher would not be able to give of his or her best. So that's what the get together really is, you know. We understand the need for support. As a teacher, you don't really have much of a life outside of that. I mean, you go to the grocery, it's Miss and it's Sir, and you have to maintain that. And I believe you spoke to that as well, Miss Henry Wajon, where you don't leave teaching, you know. Even when you're a retiree, it's Miss and Sir, and they show you that respect. So we need to ensure that the together part and the image of tutor, the image of the get together is preserved, and always we look for enhancement. Miss Henry Wajon, how do you see the get together impacting the education system? Because we partner with the division, they usually play a role in the sponsorship and so on in our get together activities. And money spent must be money well spent. Money spent shouldn't be a tick box activity. We always talk about resources and wasted resources, and we don't want to play a role in wasting anybody's resources. So where would get together really fit? How does the district, the members, the wider tutor impact the education system through our activities that we have?
So the first thing that I learned very early in tutor is that the strength of tutor lies in its membership. So we need to do something that will ensure that our membership buys into the vision and the mission of tutor. Because tutor would have goals, vision, mission. But without that buy-in from the membership, you are wasting your time. And I like when you talk about wasted resources. The division, on the other hand, also has a responsibility to ensure that they market the activities of tutor, because they are assisting in spending, tutor is assisting in spending the money to ensure that we get what we need, right? And as such, everything hinges upon leadership. So how you lead will determine what happens within your learning communities. So both the division and tutor, along with its members, they have to come together. And you hear the word together again.
Together again, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We have to come together. And I'm saying we, even the Principals Association, everyone has to be on target, on board, to market the activities of tutor. I can bet my bottom dollar, the last one, you will never see any individual in the echelon of tutor on a political platform. Unless they're going for politics. Right?
Yeah.
Because tutor is not a trade union. We have always learned it's a professional organization. And with professional organization, you have an extensive set of training, right? And that is why tutor has that professional team, the training attached, where teachers and principal can access that support, right? And as such, we have to use it from time to time to alleviate some of the conflict and the issues that we're having in school. I remember vividly when Mr. Orville Carrington was our Tobago officer, and he would utilize it from time to time. If he goes into a school and he sees an issue, he said, trouble there. And he calls in the tutor people to do some training with individuals to bring them up to speed. So we didn't only take tutor as that opportunity where you're going to bargain for rights and money for teachers. We also saw it as an opportunity to make your community, your school community, a better place where each and every individual feels that safety, feels that belongingness. Ensure that, you bring it together so that everyone, you don't leave school when it's 3 o'clock. A tutor individual who really goes into tutor has a certain commitment that time has no value to you. You stay at school and do what you have to do and go beyond the call of duty because you understand what your role and function really are. You understand your roles and your function. You clearly understand it. So you go beyond the call of duty to make that impact.
Yes.
We have teachers where the children and them going through the gate.
Same time.
Same time. That can't work.
Yes, yes. And I like that you always call out everybody.
Yeah.
Because it cannot be someone on a sled waiting to be pulled or to be pushed and you go for a ride. So each stakeholder in education, and we are seeing what is happening in our schools with the fights and so on, and we're blaming somebody. So it's either the school, or it's the division, or it's the teachers. or well, I have also been calling out the police service. So I would want to play a greater role, but we call out the police service, and we are not seeing the unified approach to addressing all our issues. So whether it's tutor, whether it's the development day, the get together, or whether it's the education system at large, what you are seeing coming out all the time is the need for the togetherness, and that is what we promote with our get together activities. We want our teachers to come out. We also have a lighter moment on the Friday evening at Signal Hill Secondary School where we provide some of the eats. It's a cooler lime so persons could bring the Jinxon up and the shandy and the Malta and whatever other beverages that satisfy their thirst. And we have that lighter moment where we socialize and so on. So we need to have persons really coming out and seeing where they can fit. You know, there's this story with somebody, anybody and nobody, where somebody could have done what anybody could have done, but nobody did it. Everybody wants tutor to do something, but they are part of tutor. Correct. So how do we collectively do that? And the development day, there are so many powerful speeches. Even the financial advice, that is free advice you're going to be getting in these workshops and so on. You tap into it. You play a role for yourself, and there are some non-members who are teachers. You know, they will still call my phone. You know, they would want to know what's going on with the negotiation, where we reach. You know, they've had issue with their principal. I ain't joining it, so I might join next week, but I sign up the form and I'll submit it. Come on, if everybody pay close attention to the together parts and the importance of being together, and that's why I believe our education system is not going as fast forward as it needs to, because we have either, whether it's the ministry or it's a division, they have their policies and tutor trying to influence, and you're not seeing where there's that full togetherness. That's why we have this fight with the contract teachers dragging on for so long. If we have true collaboration, where we sit down and hammer it out, we are going to get a better outcome at a faster time to address some of those needs. And it's the same thing with transition to the classrooms. If we have teachers coming together, so we will have asked for planning time for our primary school teachers, where they could come together and just discuss how could we do this differently for next term. We are not getting the results we want. What parameters we're going to create for togetherness, where we can have teachers actually coming together. We want teachers to use whatever time given for the purpose. So we do not want to create a space for teachers to come together. And whether you sign and leave or you sign in but you're on the phone all the time and paying any attention to it, that is not a true essence of togetherness. So I know we are coming close to the time, but we must highlight our icon. And he would have been serving Tobago in teaching as a tutor member. Most persons would remember Mr. Aaron Reed for the Tobago Teachers Got Talent. Now, I always had to talk about this as a distant thing because I was very, very young when this activity was, and I know even my mom would be going to the event. So a lot of persons outside of education would have been coming to the Tobago Teachers Got Talent and so on. It went on. I know it started as a tutor event, and then it branched over as Mr. Aaron Reed marketed it in a bigger way and so on, where he continued to give light to some of the teachers. And I believe, Mr. George, I believe you took part in some of those activities, if I can recall correctly. Mr. George, tell us briefly about the Tobago Teachers Got Talent and some of the roles that you would have played.
So, Teachers Got Talent, coincidentally, while we were offset, it's when I now knew that that segment was by and large a part of tutor activities. I never knew that. When it is that I am now started to teach, I entered that competition about twice or three times and would have solicited backing from my school, Goodwood Secondary. So it was a good time. It was a good time. And it was just, seeing other teachers in a different light, being able actually to meet new teachers there and recognizing, some of the talent that our teachers have. that is why I met persons like Mrs. Paria with dancing, Mr. Thomas at Signon Hill,
Yes.
and it have others. It has others. So, you know, forums like those is basically for me to see persons in a different light outside of the teaching profession.
Yes, and I can imagine some of the parents and the students would love to see some of the teachers.
Oh, yeah,
skits and so on. I know you didn't tell us that you came first or second or so, but I know you have participated. You would have participated.
I would have participated.
And, you know, looking back at Mr. Reed's contribution, he is indeed a fitting icon to highlight this year, you know. As mentioned last year, we do not want to wait until people pass away to see how good they were. Let them be a part of the celebration and so on. So, Mr. Reed, kudos to your contribution, to your family, because you know when you have someone so dedicated to the community, the family suffers. So to the family, thank you very much for affording him that time to give to teaching, to give to Tobago, and we look forward for even his continued fellowship of the Get Together movement and so on, because he seems to be fully aware as to what is still happening in the teaching space and so on. As we say, even if you retire, you still have that attachment to education and the needs and so forth. So again, we thank you, Mr. Reed, and to our stakeholders in education, our members, our functionaries. We look forward to that togetherness. We have that strengthened. We know we all have our individual issues, our individual challenges that we pull aside sometimes to deal with. But always remember, sometimes in coming together is where we're going to find the solutions to those things. So again, to the panelists, I would give you all final words each. Mr. Rodriguez?
I thank you again. So it was indeed a pleasure, and I really want to encourage individuals. This year we are elevating excellence. And as the chairman, I want to invite individuals. We're going to be having our professional our awards function on the Thursday. You might not be able to make it, but Friday evening at Signal Hill Secondary School, we also have a lime. And it's always good that teachers could come together and find a way to distress. Because yes, the teaching, is a very stressful activity. So I invite all teachers in the Tobago space, once it is physically possible, that the information is out there, come out and be a part of our various events. You would not regret being a part of these events.
Ms. Aniwajan.
Well, I want to thank Tutor for the opportunity to be a panelist, and the cooler line, you know, they just came to me. I'm seeing walk with your cooler, but why not sell a cooler there with some drinks where persons can come in and, you know, give some much needed donation to the organization, as well as have a good time whilst doing such.
Noted. Noted for future reference. Mr. George.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So, touching on the theme equilibrium in education, achieving balance between traditional and progressive teaching approaches while ensuring health and wellness. The theme, I believe, is something that really needs to be taken note of. We are at a stage in this profession where we have a lot of teachers who are retiring and a lot of teachers who are coming in. So I look at it in the context of very young teachers coming in, as well as, you know, persons who are there. And we need to understand the importance of a professional community, a professional learning community, unionism, and how and the important relationship that we supposed to have between union and the other stakeholders that are there. So I just urge us to be cognizant of that, and by having that enhanced sort of collaboration, that we'll be able to come together in more ways than one.
Okay, thank you very much. And I was corrected that we had no competition. It was a concert. So yes. So in not hearing the first, second, or third, it's probably the competitive nature within me seeking to get such a response. But I appreciate the interaction that we would have had. I'm certain that our viewers and listeners are also appreciative, as I'm seeing some of the comments coming through and so on. I would want this enthusiasm and so on, especially the passion Mr. Rodriguez putting forward. Like he's 70 years old, he have plenty of the memory of those years gone by. we have that enthusiasm towards our activities. We can transcend those things that we are learning to our classroom. So again, to our retirees, to our ICON, our district executive, our wider stakeholders, blessed afternoon, and I trust that we would have enlightened you all on some key aspects of our Tobago Teachers Get Together.